Welcome and good morning, everyone. In the previous lesson, you have learned about the double fertilization, okay, as well as the outcome of um, the, the ovary, the zygote, all right, etc. Okay, so now today you are going to learn about the endosperm development and the embryo development in seeds. Okay, now so before we proceed into that detail, let's do some recap here. All right, so this diagram, okay, we have this couple which is consists of the stigma, style, and the ovary, right? And then we have this ovary here, okay, which has this ovary wall. You can see the ovary wall here that consists of the exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, right? And then we have the embryo and the sperm, right, which is the seeds. Now at the end of the embryogenesis, sorry, at the end of the double fertilization, I mentioned that the ovary wall, sorry, the ovary develops into the fruit, right? And then the ovary wall becomes the pericarp, which is consists of this exo, meso, and endocarp, right? And then I also mentioned that the triploid nucleus, remember them? They develop into the endosperm. Endosperm is the tempat simpanan makanan, right? For the developing embryo. Okay. Now, when it comes to tempat simpanan makanan, this food storage for the embryo, it can be either the endosperm, okay, or the cotyledons, or both. Right? I'll further discuss on that matter later. Right? And then we have the ovule that develops into seeds, which is inside the fruit. And then we have the zygote that will develop into the embryo. Right? So that was the outcome, okay, after the double fertilization. Now let's take a look at the endosperm development. Okay, this endosperm, right, remember the zygote, it will develop into endosperm, right? So endosperm development, right, usually it occurs before the embryo development, right? So we need to say after double fertilization it proceeds into endosperm development, and then proceed with the embryo development. So after double fertilization, what happens? The triploid nucleus develops into a liquid mass which becomes solid. Okay, and when it becomes solid, the liquid mass, all right, when the liquid mass becomes solid, okay, that liquid mass is known as the endosperm. Now, example, we have the coconut milk and meat. Okay, they are examples of liquid and solid endosperm, respectively. Now, other example of endosperm is the white fluffy part of the popcorn. Okay, so every time when you eat the popcorn, you are eating the endosperm. Huh. And then in some eudicot seeds, right? Eudicots are dicotyledons, right? So in some eudicot seeds, what happens? The endosperm are exported to the cotyledons before the seed completes its development. So the mature seed will lack of endosperm. Okay. Now we are going to proceed on the embryo development in seeds. Okay, so this occurs immediately after the double fertilization, right? Which is after the endosperm development. All right. After endosperm development, then we have the embryo development. So the antipodal and synergid cells, they degenerates. Okay, the zygote divides by mitosis to form a smaller cell. You can see here how the zygote divides by mitosis to form this terminal cell and basal cell. Terminal cell is smaller than the basal cell. The basal cell is larger than the terminal cell, apparently. So this basal cell will develop into suspensor. Okay, you can see this basal cell, it develops, okay, into suspensor. This is a suspensor from here, from this part here, all the way down here. Okay, this is the suspensor, okay, which was developed from the basal cell. So you can see that this suspensor is a tract of cells, okay, and the function of this suspensor is to anchor the embryo to the wall of the embryo sac. Okay, so meaning to say, if this is the suspensor, okay, with the basal cell, it will anchor this embryo to the wall of the embryo sac. You can see here, this is the embryo sac, this is the embryo, okay, this is the embryo, and this is the suspensor with the basal cell. How this suspensor anchor this embryo to the wall of the embryo sac. Then the terminal cell will divide several times to develop into proembryo, okay, that is attached to the suspensor. So you can see how this proembryo, okay, initially it was here, okay, this proembryo attached to the suspensor. Proembryo means pro means early, all right, so embryo is embryo, so proembryo is early embryo. And then what happens after that? Okay, the cotyledons begins to form as bumps on the proembryo, right? So you can see these are the two bumps, okay, which develop on the proembryo. So the proembryo is here, right? It's here. So again, from this diagram here, okay, initially the embryo was here, and then the cotyledon developed from the embryo. So meaning to say, now we have a heart-shaped embryo, and this heart-shaped embryo has cotyledons. So meaning to say, these cotyledons are a part of the embryo. So an eudicote, all right, like cotyledonous plants, normally they have two cotyledons, and while monocot has only one cotyledon, right? So meaning to say, in monocots, right, the cotyledon will form as a bump, not as bumps, only as a bump, okay, on the proembryo. Now, after that, the embryo elongates, okay, so from heart shape, this embryo elongates. You can see the embryo here, how it elongates here. Remember, this is the suspensor, right? This is the suspensor. This is the embryo that elongates. Now, when the embryo elongates, what happens? Okay, the embryonic shoot apex. Okay, see the shoot apex here, that is cradled between the two cotyledons. This is the shoot apex, which eventually become the shoot meristem, okay, or the shoot part of the plants. And then an embryonic root apex. This is the root apex. You can see the root apex here, okay, which forms at the opposite end of the embryo's axis where the suspensor is attached. So this root apex eventually become the root meristem, or eventually the roots itself, the plant. So the integuments, right, develop into two layers of seed cords. So these are the seed cords which develop from the integuments, right, and this seed cord also known as the testa, and this testa protects the embryo. Okay, so we have the embryo here. Now the ovary develops into the fruit. The ovary wall becomes pericarp of the fruits and consists of the exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. Right? The ovule develops into seeds inside the fruit, right? And the zygote develops into embryo that is packaged along with food into a seed. Now, upon maturity, right, the seed dehydrates. Okay, upon maturity, bila sudah matang, seed itu dehydrates. So the embryo, which is surrounded by food supply, okay, food supply, which is the cotyledon and the sperm of both, enters dormancy. So that's how seeds um, become seeds, right? So see how that's how the embryo development in seed. Okay, where at the end of the embryo development of the seed becomes dormant. Now this diagram here to show you that the seeds, right? Sorry, to show you that the embryo is packaged along with the food, which is can be the endosperm or the cotyledon or both endosperm and cotyledon, right, into the seed. Okay, so endosperm and embryo, okay, as well as the seed coat, they are known as the seed. Okay. Now, formation of fruits. So, a fruit is the mature ovary of a flower. Okay, so the fruit protects the enclosed seeds, and when mature, the fruit aids the dispersal by wind or animals. So these are the two function of fruits, right? Protects the enclosed seeds and aids in dispersal by wind or animals. Now, after the flower is pollinated, okay, this will trigger hormonal changes that will develop the ovary into fruit, to the fruit, right? Now, the hormonal changes, okay, they are the auxin, gibberellin, and cytokinin. The changes concentration of these three hormones will change in the flower. So this will cause the changes of the flower, all right, into sorry, the changes of the ovary into fruit. So again, the ovary wall becomes pericarp of the fruit, consists of the exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, right? And the exocarp is green because of the presence of chlorophyll, and tastes bitter because of um, the exocarp is rich, right? Sorry, not the exocarp. The exocarp is green because the presence of the chlorophyll, right? Okay, and the endocarp tastes bitter because of the stored organic acids, alkaloids, and starch. So there is an addition here, endocarp, right? Or simply, and the ovary tastes bitter, or the fruit tastes bitter because of the stored organic acid, alkaloid, and starch. Okay, I think better if you add in here mesocarp. Okay, so exocarp is green, while the endocarp, sorry, the mesocarp tastes bitter. Now, as ovary matures, right, as the ovary matures, alkaloids will produce aroma. Okay, the organic acids are reduced, and the starch will be converted into sugar. So, ripened fruits are sweet and soft. Now, ethylene, okay, I'm sure you are very familiar with ethylene, the plant hormone. Okay, causes the color of the ovary to change to bright color to attract animals for seed dispersal. Okay. Now, the color of the ovary changes to bright color because of the breakdown of the chlorophyll to carotenoids. Alright, so I think that's it for today. So remember in your module, please add in here mesocarp. Alright, the mesocarp. Bye.